Hello, hello, everyone. All two of you out there. This is Caben Thomas, and I am doing a daily um, recording of myself doing poetry and scripts and stuff to better get acquainted with the screen, to the camera. I want to make the camera my friend. And so the only way I can really see doing this and doing it well is by doing it all the time, doing it every day, and posting it, and getting commentary. Um, that's how I see doing it. If someone has a better idea, let me know. But I'm just trying to get a more. I want the camera to be my friend, and since it's sitting on my computer, I might as well use it. Although I've never been a big fan of having a computer that has a camera, because I hear that lots of people have people sort of stalking them and looking at the camera, and the little light doesn't come on, and it's still on, and people can see what's going on. So that's a little strange, but I do realize this. I'm just not that important for people to do that. I'm not that sexy. Like if I was gorgeous, you know, if I look like Anna Walter or Claire or Fogarty or Cecilia Fairchild, one of those cats, I would have to put tape over it. But I'm none of those, so I don't think there's going to be an issue. Anyway, I like to read from the Writer's Almanac. I don't think this is necessarily helping me with my uh, acting better on camera, but I do love the Writer's Almanac. I love reading poetry, so this is what gets me to do it. So why not? Why not? All right. So we're going to be reading from the Writer's Almanac for Friday, January 20th, 2012. Going to be a little ahead of time here. This is Garrison Keillor's almanac that he reads on National Public Radio. Does it usually right after Terry Gross's Fresh Air and before Dick Gordon's The Story. You should hear his voice. I do it no justice. All right. Marcus Thompson patented the first Coney Island roller coaster ride on this date in 1885. So we have an anniversary coming up here. It was called the Gravity Switchback Railway, and it cost a nickel to ride, and it was an immediate success, drawing huge crowds and bringing in $600 a day. It's considered the first commercially successful roller coaster, and it was the first roller coaster specifically built as an amusement park ride. $600 a day in 1885. Whew, who would have thought? That's a lot of nickels, man. What is that? 20 nickels for a dollar. 600. What's that? 12,000 nickels? Is that possible? Do I have that right, or do I have that wrong? Anyway, I'm not going to do the math. Just you stare at me like this. I don't do math well. Anyway, it's the birthday of the fiction author Robert Olin Butler. Born in Granite City, Illinois in 1945, he won the Pulitzer Prize in short fiction in 1993 for his collection A Good Scent from a Strange Mountain. He was a theater major who worked as a cab driver and editor in a steel mill and as a teacher both in high school and college. He enlisted in the Vietnam War and was assigned to Army intelligence, and he spent a year learning Vietnamese living in an old French hotel in Saigon. He returned to the U.S. in 1972 and worked as an editor and reporter in New York City. He wrote his first novels on a legal pad while traveling to and from work on Long Island Railroad. Butler's first novel, The Alleys of Eden, came out in 1981 after 21 publishers turned it down. It was the first book in what would become a Vietnamese trilogy. The novel received very good reviews, but only sold a few thousand copies. In the fall of 2001, he produced a webcast of his writing process, following the journey of a short story from idea to final polish in real time, narrating his thought processes as he went along and answering emails from viewers. The series, called Inside Creative Writing, ran for 17 episodes of 2 hours each, and it's still available for download. Butler's most recent work includes a short story collection, Ouija Stories, in 2010, and a novel, A Small Hotel, which was published in 2011. Today is the birthday of novelist Susan Vreeland, born in Racine, Wisconsin in 1946. She taught high school English in San Diego, California for 30 years and done a little writing, including a novel called What Love Sees, published in 1988. But she didn't really embark on her writing career full bore until she was diagnosed with lymphoma in 1996. That's what'll change your life, won't it? Finding out you ain't got much time. We all don't have much time. She had chemotherapy and operations, and during her recovery she couldn't do much more than look at art books. She found the paintings of Vermeer very soothing, so in her hiatus from teaching, she decided to write a book about him. Vermeer only turned out 30-something paintings, so Vreeland began a novel with the premise that he had painted one more, called Girl in Hyacinth Blue. It became a bestseller in 1999. How awesome is that, huh? That's great. That's great. Her most recent novel is Clara and Mr. Tiffany, 2011, about a young widow who goes to work designing stained glass lamps in Louis Comfort Tiffany's studio. You have to read that. Read up on her. Today is the birthday of comedian and talk show host Bill Maher. He was born William Maher Jr. in New York City, and he grew up in River Vale, New Jersey. His father was a news editor for NBC, so the family dinner table conversation usually revolved around big issues of the day. And young Maher was encouraged to contribute his own thoughts and feelings. He wanted to be a comedian ever since he was a kid, but didn't tell his parents about his career aspirations until he graduated from Cornell with a degree in English and history in 1978. His career progressed along a usual trajectory, first comedy clubs, then small parts in small movies and TV shows, and eventually stand-up gigs on The Tonight Show. His big break finally came in 1993 when a fledgling cable network called Comedy Central approached him. They were struggling, and they asked him if he would be interested in hosting a show. That show was politically incorrect, and it brought together people from across the political spectrum to discuss current events, leavened with Maher's own opinionated quips. The show ran for 9 years. He hosted a similar program, Real Time with Bill Maher, on HBO since 2003. Bill Maher, talking about American exceptionalism. He says, quote, always waving the big foam number one finger. We're not number one in most things. We're number one in military. We're number one in money. We're number one in fat toddlers, meth labs, and people we send to prison. But we're not number one in literacy or money spent on education. We're not even number one in social mobility. Social mobility means basically the American dream, the ability of one generation to do better than the next. We're 10th. That's like Sweden coming in 10th in Swedish meatballs. Unquote. Here's a poem by Sal Sirowitz called Red Red Bra. First, I'll tell you a little bit about Hal Sirowitz. He is an American poet born in 1949. He first began to attract attention at the Neuroican Poets Cafe, where he was a frequent competitor in their Friday night poetry slam. He eventually made it to the 1993 Neuroican Poetry Slam team and competed in the 1993 National Poetry Slam held in San Francisco. Sirowitz would later perform his poetry on stages across the country and on television programs such as MTV's Spoken Word, Unplugged, and PBS, the United States of Poetry. He's written 6 books on poetry, and arguably best known for the volumes Mother Said, My Therapist Said, and Father Said. He is a 1994 recipient of the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship in Poetry. He is the former poet laureate of Queens, New York, and he worked as a special education teacher in the New York public school system for 23 years. Red bra. I bought a red bra, she said. I knew you'd like it. The only problem was I didn't have a red blouse to wear with it. I bought that and red pants and shoes so it wouldn't stand out so much. I also thought about getting red panties. But I said to hell with that. I'm not going to worry if one small part of the outfit doesn't match. And who's going to see my underwear? Just you. And what do you know about fashion? Nothing. Red Bra by Hal Sirowitz from his collection of poems Before, During, and After. Published by Soft Skull Press in 2003. Reprinted with permission. Writers in Almanac is hosted by Gariison Keillor. Writers are Betsy Allister, Priscilla Kinter, Heather McPherson, Holly Vanderhaar. Technical director is Thomas Schrager. Engineer Noah Smith. Coordinator Nick Vetter, and permissions by Kathy Roach. As Gariison Keillor always says, be well, do good work, and keep in touch.